Right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the PlebPod. It's your favorite podcast, and today I'm joined by only two plebs in the names of Sid and Shane.
Are you not calling yourself a pleb?
Did I not say two other plebs? If s-
Eh,
well, not
Did you
important.
say your name? I've blacked out. I can't remember.
I don't think I did. They all know who I am. I'm Cesar.
Who are you?
Oh, Shane, please behave.
Who are you? I don't know who you are. Who is this man?
an idiot sandwich. There we go.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm here. Deal with it.
It appears there is an insect on my other monitor.
What? An insect of what kind?
One that flies.
One that there are many insects that fly.
Yeah, there's
Is it
one
a
on my
mos-
screen.
Is it a mosquito?
We're just gonna... Moving on.
Moving on. Now, I was telling Sid before we started this recording, and Shane had fucked off to do things.
You made it sound like I've gone to have a wank or something. I went to the toilet to pee.
Come on.
No, I went to the toilet to pee, Cesar.
Okay.
I didn't come on anything.
So,
Why are you being so defensive? I almost don't believe you.
you know what, Shane? It did take you an awfully long time to just get a shirt. Maybe just enough time to have a wank and some pot noodle.
The story time,
Story time?
Cesar.
What do you mean story time?
I don't know. You said you were telling something. Did something.
Right. I was telling Sid how you see a lot of things happen around you, and me being a cashier, I experience a lot of things firsthand in my till. One such strange episode happened today at the store. I was just, doing my business, scanning a customer's items, when a pregnant lady comes up to me and says, "Hey, there's a really big queue. I'm pregnant, so I have priority service. Would you mind serving me after you finish serving that customer?" And I'm like, "Sure, that's fine. Just go right ahead. Put your things on the thing that rolls and brings the items
That little
closer
conveyor
to me.
belt.
Thank you, on the till conveyor belt." So there was another young woman, slightly older than myself. For context, I'm 24 years old. Who already had her things on the conveyor belt. Shen Yur Mong. And she says, "I don't care if she has priority service. Being pregnant isn't an illness, so I don't care." And I'm like, "Okay, keep your cool, be civil." To which I say, "Oi, you fucking cunt!" No.
How to get yourself fired.
Yeah. So I tell her, "Listen, I understand it's frustrating that you waited almost 15 minutes in the queue to get service, but we do have priority service. It is demanded by law that we give priority service to the elderly, people with physical and mental disabilities, pregnant people. So I am going to have to request that you take your items off of the till conveyor belt so that I can give the said priority service to this lady." She's like, "No, I'm not having any of it. I want to be served now because I waited in line." I'm like, "Okay." So I phone my supervisor, and my supervisor basically tells me to deal with it because she's very busy with something else. Okay, and I'm like, okay. So I gave myself exactly 2 seconds to think, no more, no less. So in those 2 seconds, I basically think, okay, I'm screwed. So I go to the pregnant lady and I'm like, "Listen, I know it's frustrating, but this woman doesn't want to give you the priority that you have the right to. Would you mind waiting an additional 5 minutes just so I can get her out of your way and then the other customers won't mind giving you priority service, and she's like, no, that's fine. I'm used to getting bullshit like that from people. Don't worry, it's not your fault. And I was left in a really awkward situation because let's imagine that a higher up person in the company, like a regional manager or something, was in the store at that moment. I could have gotten into trouble.
No.
Because
I would say no.
Well-
You have made an attempt to do your job properly, and someone's just been a dick about it.
Yeah.
The thing that's benefited you in this situation is that the pregnant lady was completely understanding of the situation.
Very understanding, absolutely.
Had it been another annoyed person, let's say, you'd have been fucked.
Pretty much, like,
You would
Two
have been
annoyed
fucked.
people.
no,
Yeah.
because had the pregnant lady insisted on getting priority service right there and then, I would have been left between a rock and a hard, place.
Yeah.
And I would have basically been like, I would have taken off my apron and be like, okay, I'm out, bye. No, but in all seriousness, like, it's really annoying how people just refuse to let people who have the right to priority service.
It's the arrogance and entitlement that annoys me.
Yeah, it's dumb.
There's something more that surprised me with that story you said, which is that it's another woman. You know, I would think they would at least understand what pregnancy is and the physical difficulties of walking with that.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point.
One that
catch
says apparently didn't consider based,
No,
based on his facial reaction.
I hadn't considered that until this exact moment.
Mate,
Nice
your
catch,
facial
Sid.
expression looked like I really hadn't considered that.
No, I really haven't. I really did not consider that until Sid pointed it out. I'm used to dealing with the whole priority service thing because my mom has a right to it for reasons that I will not disclose in this space. But it always surprises me just how arrogant and entitled people act towards people who have the right to priority service. Like, is it really that hard to ask that you wait another 5 minutes in a queue just for someone who isn't as physically or mentally able as you to be served first? Is that really that big of a request?
Now, I'll give you an example of something similar because obviously I do a lot of driving in my lifetime. It's the arrogance and entitlement. I'll give you an example of people who just walk in the middle of the road or walk out from the pavement for no reason when they're not supposed to into the path traffic. Does it really hurt?
To go
Wait
to the zebra cross.
10, 15, 20 seconds rather than being hit by a vehicle. I get it if the traffic is absolutely stationary.
However, if the traffic is moving,
If the traffic is moving, or you're at a crossing, and you know you're not meant to be crossing, what is the point? I see it every day, and I don't understand it at all.
My very little experience of UK is that pedestrians have right of way, and I think that really, really messes with it. Because you just walk around. Sorry, I'll just cut you off. You just walk around, and you're just like, driver has to stop, not my problem.
yeah.
And whereas, like, while I'm over here, it's like, it's my problem. Like, basically should not be on the road at all while walking.
Like, the worst part is they changed the highway code in January. To give pedestrians and cyclists, pardon me, more priority, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
so cyclists now no longer have to cycle down the side of the road by the pavement. They can just, like, say if they want to go. The highway code now tells them it's better in certain scenarios to be either on the right hand side or in the middle of the road.
Mm.
Pedestrians now, if they're standing at just any crossing, you should slow down and let them cross. Even if it's not a zebra crossing, if there's no traffic lights, if it's just a regular crossing, like say there's an island in the middle of the road, you should slow down and let them cross to make it safer.
That's really confusing.
Yeah,
That is extremely confusing.
make it make sense. It's a 30-mile-an-hour road. There's a queue of traffic behind you. You have to slow down with no traffic lights in front of you, with no zebra crossing in front of you, just to let one person cross because they're standing on an island in the middle of the.
That is confusing.
It's a very UK thing. I
It
don't
is.
understand what it is.
It doesn't make sense. All you've done is you've given pedestrians the right to walk
To
in the
jaywalk.
middle of the road or walk across the road into oncoming traffic.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's literally like it's written by someone who doesn't drive a vehicle.
Yeah. It does feel that way sometimes. Like, even in the Portuguese equivalent of the highway code, it really feels like some rules are written by people who do not drive at all.
This is where I want to point out the superior strategy, whereas you write the rule, but nobody follows them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Believe me.
I by the way, I absolutely do not follow that rule.
Oh, well.
Because it's a stupid rule.
It is. It might be safer for the pedestrian, which it still isn't, but it's
worse.
definitely not safer for anyone who's driving down the road.
No. It's dumb. It's stupid. Stupid rule.
It is.
Gotta follow it.
The only case where, and this is in the Portuguese equivalent of the highway code, the only case in which it is acceptable for a pedestrian to cross the road without it being at a zebra crossing or, like, a zebra cross with lights, is if there are no zebra crossings within a 50-meter radius of where the pedestrian is. They can do the usual, stop, look, and listen, and if they see that there's no traffic, they can cross from one side of the road to the other. And if that's the case, for example, if I'm driving my car and I see a person crossing without it being in a zebra cross, in that scenario, I do of course have to stop to not hit the pedestrian. But that is something that's predicted in the Portuguese highway code. If there are no zebra crosses in the general vicinity, people can just go across. But
again, the
makes
slight
sense.
difference there is that they're actually attentively crossing the road.
Exactly.
Whereas
exactly.
in the UK, that's not a thing. I've seen it enough.
People just step out. They don't
It's
look.
like, oh, there is a zebra crossing. I can now walk.
I've almost hit a cyclist once because he pulled out from a petrol station. It was late at night, so the road was empty, so I was able to move lanes to avoid him. But if that's in the middle of the day and there's traffic on my right hand side, I have no choice but to either crash into the cars or run over the cyclist.
Yeah.
So I beeped at him. I stopped. I opened the door and I said, "You need to look, because I literally almost run you over."
Mm-hmm. And let me guess, he told you to fuck off.
No, he didn't tell me to fuck off. It was one of the occasions where he genuinely I didn't get told to fuck off for doing something that wasn't my fault.
Well, being a cyclist sometimes myself, I do follow the rules of the highway code for cyclists.
That doesn't happen here.
Well, I stop at lights, I stop at stop signs, I give way when I'm supposed to give way. There are different rules for cyclists regarding switching lanes. Say, for example, well, obviously in Portugal we drive on the right, not on the left. Say I want to turn left when there's a 2-lane road, as in 2 lanes going the same way. We are told to stand on. We are told to be on the left lane, but to indicate with our arm that we're going to do the turn, because that way we're not blocking traffic on the right lane, but we're safely letting the cars on the left lane know that we're going to be making that turn, so that they don't try to overtake us as such during the turn, which would cause danger.
It's brave to do that, though.
It is.
Because you're at the mercy of the other cars hitting you.
Yeah. Believe me, I avoid doing it. I just usually, try to find another route if I can, because it is nerve-wracking to be one bicycle in the middle of
a 4-lane road, essentially.
A 4-lane road. It is nerve-wracking. and I've been cycling for years. I've learned how to ride a bike at 4 years old, I think. And I've been driving on the road ever since. Obviously, when I was younger, I would do it with my parents, my sisters, what have you. When I started doing it by myself is when I realized just how dangerous cycling really is. On roundabouts, for example, cyclists have 2 options. They can take the roundabout in the less safe way, which is taking it exactly as you would in a car. Or we are given the safer option of doing, no matter where we're exiting the roundabout to, we can do it on the right lane the entire way. As long as we're signaling with our arm when we're still going to keep going around it and when we're exiting.
I'm so happy when I'm driving and a cyclist
falls over.
No. Sticks their arm out to
indicate.
Tell me where they're going.
Yeah.
It's infuriating when they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got to hit the brakes so hard to avoid them.
You've got to essentially guess where they're going.
If you stick your arm out, I will slow down and give you the space to do what you need to do.
Exactly.
But they don't do it. I'm well of the opinion that people who are cyclists are suicidal. And I'm
Cheers,
okay.
Jeff.
I'm okay saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that a lot of them are here,
it makes them
suicidal.
Look. Yeah. Sid, thoughts on that?
I mean, where I'm from, there are no bikes. There's only camels.
Well. Okay, now that you mention it,
what does the highway code in Bahrain say, Sid?
No, does
the highway code in Bahrain?
Does the Bahraini highway code have anything regarding camels?
Regarding camels, in what sense? In terms of right of way?
As in, right. Here in Portugal, the highway code does have specific rules and cases for people riding horses and people riding those wheel carts that are pulled by oxen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking, are there rules for people riding camels on the road?
It's the same as riding a horse.
Okay.
So-
Okay. Well, to be fair,
I have, like,
go on.
it must be terrifying riding a horse on a public road.
Never done it. Probably never
Be-
will.
Because I know I will never do that either. Because, like, that horse it could just go ape shit at any time.
At any given moment. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and the amount of horse shit literal horse shit that I see on the road, I don't want to be falling back into that.
Yeah. You know what? Now, granted, I don't really see a lot of people riding horses here in Portugal. I do see quite a few wheel carts pulled by oxen, but that's
I thought you were going to say you see horses cartwheeling. I was like, what?
No. Something I do very occasionally see is police on horses.
Yeah,
Like
that
cavalry.
Yeah, I see that sometimes. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, but if you're trying to chase someone, you're not going to get very far.
On a horse.
Mm.
Unless they're a pedestrian.
It's not the quickest form of transport in the world.
No, it really isn't. Now, granted, if you're following a cyclist or a pedestrian, a horse is a good option. If you're following a car,
Until you get to a solid wall.
well, yes. To be fair, that applies to any form of transportation. It's good until you hit a solid wall.
But like no. But like, imagine. Right, so you're a police officer on a horse,
Right.
chasing after someone who is running.
Right.
They jump over a wall,
Mm.
and we're not talking like a fucking.
Guess I'll die.
A wall that is like 3 feet that a horse can just jump. We're talking like a 7-8 foot wall.
Could be a fence they climbed or something.
Mm.
Wherever.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah. Essentially.
That
Like,
guy's
well,
off.
chase over, guys.
That guy's off into that guy's off into the sunset.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Yeah. Let us know. Why do police officers horses?
It looks cool? Question mark?
We're not sure if it looks cool.
Now, something else that's actually quite common in, at least here where I live, which is a very cyclist-friendly city, is police on bicycles.
I mean, that also happens here.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to myself, why? I don't see myself.
why.
I don't see it as very effective.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I see them on the motorbikes, which is fair enough.
Yeah, motorbikes, fair enough.
But a bicycle?
Again, good for following a pedestrian until you hit a solid wall.
And then you
Or a
too
fence.
have to run.
Exactly. And you just abandon the bike. And then
Which someone else will pick
steals the
it up.
bike.
Someone else will pick it up off the street and steal it.
Yeah.
So Sid,
me.
what is a more effective way of getting about where you're from? Camel or horse?
Oh. Well, I mean, you can't really take either of them on a highway, can you? Just be like,
I mean, you
"Oh,
can.
You shouldn't, but you can.
But like, what if you have to change lanes on a highway so that you don't merge? Like, that's quite risky with a camel and a horse.
I think it's risky regardless of what kind of road you're driving on, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially because the country's just full of highways.
Mm-hmm.
It's small.
Yeah.
It's not like you got this big fat city of London with street roads. It's, here is 2 streets connecting to one highway.
One highway. Nice. Nice. I mean, I honestly just...
So you wouldn't get very far.
I honestly just think camels are desert horses.
Okay. Sid, thoughts?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've only seen one person ever ride a camel. So if they were desert horses, then I would see a lot more people riding camels than horses, which is not true.
Right.
There you go. So that blows out of the window.
It does. Shit.
I see a lot of people riding horses here, though. That's a daily occurrence.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Much
Because
as
horse
being in
riding's
cars?
pretty popular. Oh, in car? No.
Nowhere near as much as being in cars. The cars are very much still a form of transport.
Yes, they are.
And then horses, and then camels.
And then bus.
How about bicycle?
You're telling me bus ranks after camels? People
Yes.
use camels more to transport round than a bus.
I'm gonna go with it now. But nobody uses the bus. So.
Interesting. How is public transport in Bahrain?
Well, we have bus, but nobody uses the bus because there's no real proper bus stops.
Okay.
And just hypothetical here, you know?
Great.
It's 40
So-
degrees. It feels like 52 degrees.
Yikes.
Do you really want to walk 5 minutes from the bus to a place? Or would you just take your car with the non-existent fuel prices
You know
and
what?
park
That's
on the
fair.
free parking and then just go pick up the stuff in the AC and come back? Yeah, that choice is yours.
So what is
Yeah.
it like? Are that or should? Am I? I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. But
What
are
are
there
you
like,
trying to ask?
are there designated bus stops? Or supposed
Yes, there
to
are
be?
bus stops. There are It's kind of like you have this side of the road and there's a pole and it just has like a flag attached to it. Bus stop.
Oh, that is.
Where a bus just pulls over.
Now, how does it compare to London public transport system?
I mean, London's just it's way better. It's a different scale.
Mm.
It's
I don't
very-
have a better way of saying it.
It is
or a
very,
funny way.
very easy to get around London.
I believe that.
Like we absolutely have got one of the best transport networks in the world. When it's all up and running and working,
Of course.
something goes. There's a couple things that go wrong.
It's pain.
It is pain.
Isn't London basically... Or the other way around. Isn't Bahrain basically the size of London? Or...
What's the population of London? Someone tell me.
About 16 million people?
Then Bahrain is smaller than London.
I actually meant in size, but... You know. Oh,
Well-
it's actually 8.9 million people in London.
Ah, still smaller.
Ah.
In terms of size, I mean,
In terms of actual physical size, how big is Bahrain?
London...
I think it's similar. I guess.
London
How long does it?
is
Sorry, go on.
607 square miles.
Bahrain.
To go from one end to London to the other is an hour drive.
Hour.
As
What
Bahrain...
fucking
go from
route are you
west-
taking to avoid all the traffic?
Well, assume no traffic.
Would you look at that? London is bigger than Bahrain.
Huh.
Bahrain is
Bahrain is tiny.
200,
Yes.
293.4 square miles, whereas London is 607.
So
It's
half of London.
Pretty much.
So we just took the east side of London. That's ours now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good, because that's the side I'm from.
What's wrong with the west side of London?
Everything.
I don't know. It's just classy buildings.
Everything's
It's boring.
wrong with London.
Just
The
London in
buildings.
general, Shane?
Buildings are nice. It's a good. Like I said this before. I'll say it again. London is a nice place to visit. A horrible place to live.
And you being a Londoner, you do know what you're talking about.
It's just inexpensive.
Mm-hmm. Have you always lived in London?
Yes.
Were you born in London?
Yes.
Oh, so basically your entire life was lived in London.
Yes.
You poor soul. You poor soul, I feel sorry for you. That being said, I was born, raised, and still live in the same city, so...
Yeah.
However...
I was born, I want to say, let me load up Google quickly.
Google Maps.
Google Maps. Oh, hello.
Now, the difference between me and Shane is that I was not born, raised, and live in the capital city of Portugal. I live in like the 5th, 6th largest city, I want to say.
Mm.
Probably not even 5th, to be honest.
So.
List of Portuguese cities by population.
I guess this makes my life interesting because now I've basically lived a long period of my life in 3 different countries.
I was born approximately 3 miles away from where I am now.
Oh. Well,
Fantastic.
That's nice. I live in the 18th largest city in Portugal. Or municipality, even.
You've got 18 cities.
More. Much more. Portugal has a total of... What? What's this?
Says is confused again. He's now rethinking his whole life. Whole life of lies. Cesar is actually confused.
I am genuinely confused. Oh.
And how?
Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17. I live in the 19th largest city in Portugal. But yeah, Portugal has a lot of cities because we differentiate between just a regular municipality and a city, like an actual city. It's weird. It's very weird. I'll get into that in another podcast episode because it's
a bit later.
No, it's confusing even for me, and I'm from here. But yeah, I was also born just about 3 miles away from where I live.
Oh, nice.
Because the city hospital is like literally in the city center, whereas I live close to the edge of the municipality, but it's still close enough where it's part of the same general urban center.
Mm.
One thing I do wish Portugal had more of is a public transportation system like London's. Because getting anywhere in Portugal through public transport kind of difficult. Unless you're in Lisbon or Porto.
But it's cheap.
In what sense? It's cheap in London.
It is cheap in London, to be fair.
In the sense that
but the trains are not anywhere in the UK. Continue.
In the sense that there are a lot of places in Portugal, and keep in mind that Portugal is a small country in terms of area. There are a lot of places in Portugal where I can only get to in a timely fashion if I take my car. Like if I let's say I wanted to get to Guarda, which is a city close to the border with Spain, I have essentially 3 options. I take my car, I get the A25 right next door, and then just do the whole thing. I get a bus, which takes more time to get there than I would with my own car. Or I can get a train to Coimbra, which is south from where I live, and I want to go east. And then in Coimbra, I get another train to get there. And it's a hassle. My problem with Portuguese public transportation is that it's a hassle to get anywhere.
Yeah, no, can't relate.
See? Thank you.
So what you're saying, Cesar, is just drive.
I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
get places in a timely manner, unless you're going to Lisbon, to Porto, or you live in one of those two cities, yeah, drive. Which is still shit because you need to pay toll.
Ah,
Ah. Oh, yeah, tolls.
And they ain't cheap. They
Yeah,
ain't
no,
cheap.
the transport network in London is amazing and pretty cheap considering
Mm-hmm. It's a capital city.
the prices of transport everywhere else in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
As Sid can testify to.
yes. I just, I don't have the exact prices, but when I was in Nottingham, I was taking the bus to like the city centre and back or something, and I'd done like, I had a triple journey because I was going like just visiting places. I think I was going to like a recreation ground, whatever, right? I did like 10 journeys on a tube in London. That cost me less than my like 4 bus rides in Nottingham.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous because I think there's a cap on the price you pay anyways on the day, but it just meant it's so much cheaper to go anywhere.
For buses, the daily cap is £4.95.
Yeah. For tube, is it like 7 something? Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's higher on the tube, but it also that the buses it will always be a finite price. With the tube, it varies because of the zone things.
Yeah, that's true with the zone stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Still turned out to be cheap because like to go to the airport, you're going from zone 1 to zone 6, which is like that's zone 6 is the last zone.
Yeah.
So that's as expensive as it could get
Yeah.
in terms of a ticket, and it's still cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, no, the prices of trains especially the UK are absolutely obscene.
Mm-hmm. A train from where I live to Lisbon, which is about 300 kilometers away, just about. If you want to, it depends on the kind of train that you take. If you take the slower train, which takes 3 hours to get there, it's a 16 euro ticket. If you want to take the faster option, which is only half an hour slower, it is closer to it's like 25 euro.
I'd take the slower.
Yeah, you're paying quite a bit less for only half an hour more.
Half an hour.
Yeah. Now the toll situation is obscene because if I want to take if I want to do the same 300 kilometers from here to Lisbon, there are two main routes that I can take that involve
Just by car.
motorways, just by car. There are two main routes. I can take the A1 and it'll cost me 18 euro 30 cents just in toll. Or I can take the A17 and A8, which will cost me 19 euro 45 cents just in toll. It is obscenely expensive to drive in motorways in Portugal.
And
Look
then
at you with your multiple motorways and multiple ways to go to one city.
I guess that doesn't even take into consideration petrol.
No. These numbers that I gave you do not take petrol into consideration. These are just the cost of the toll.
How is petrol over there?
Right now it is €1.73 per liter of petrol, €1.90 per liter of diesel.
How high did it get during the whole?
It got to the most I've paid was €2.14 per liter of petrol.
God.
And they got to similar values for diesel.
Diesel's still really high over here.
How much is it over there?
Like, I drove past the petrol station yesterday. It was a Shell one, which is on the more expensive side of petrol anyway.
Yeah, it is.
But it's supposedly better.
Supposedly.
It was like the regular unleaded fuel was 163.
Is that petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Petrol, okay.
Diesel was 193.
Yikes. Yikes.
But it's like the regular unleaded fuel has gone down from when prices got ridiculous.
Well, same here, to be fair.
But the diesel's still the same. It's not really gone down any.
Speaking of fuel, is leaded fuel still a thing there?
That's a good question, Cesar.
Because you did specify unleaded petrol.
Yeah, but it's just because I read unleaded.
Ah, okay.
I don't remember reading leaded. So I don't think it's an option.
Right. One thing I will say is that, and Lee was very surprised with this some time ago, I've always grown up used to the idea that petrol is more expensive than diesel. And apparently it's the other way around in the UK, where diesel is usually more expensive than petrol.
It pretty much always has been. It's extremely rare that diesel is more than petrol. What? It's extremely rare that
it's less, or that petrol is more than diesel.
That petrol is more than diesel.
Yeah. The only time
my brain.
Ever since I remember existing, this year was the first time that I've ever seen petrol cost less than diesel. Because, like I said, I grew up with the idea, and so has my dad, so apparently this was always a thing here in Portugal. Petrol has just always been more expensive than diesel.
Yeah, no,
for some reason.
That's not been the case here. Usually, like, you'll see, like, the regular fuel will be about 3 or 4, anywhere between. Like, it'll be. Like, I remember the highest I think I remember it getting to was like 193 for petrol and like 196 for diesel. Or 197 for petrol and 199 for diesel.
Yeah,
it's usually very close. But diesel has always been more expensive. Like, it's really rare that diesel less.
Yeah. Now, Sid, petrol. I know that fuel is basically free of charge in Bahrain, but how does petrol compare to diesel in terms of price?
Petrol's more expensive. There you go.
But is it more
expensive than diesel?
Yeah.
Is it like a lot more expensive or just a little?
It's expensive by everybody just calm down, okay? By 4 pence.
4 pence. Okay.
That's similar to the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, but like petrol's cheap in the UK, and so is diesel. So therefore,
how much cheaper?
40 pence per litre.
Jeez.
What?
Christ.
What?
Oh my god, 40 pence.
Never in my lifetime.
40.
It used to be 20 pence per litre. Can you imagine that?
Oh mate, inflation.
40 pence.
50% increase. What the fuck?
Hang on. 40 pence for a 60-liter tank.
As I can only dream.
I can only dream of getting a full tank for 24. Oh, the scenes. I would drive like just to go get bread at the bakery. Screw walking. Drive.
Pollute the world, yay!
Pollute.
Pollution.
Yes, absolutely. See,
That's disgusting, Sid.
that is very disgusting.
What you should do is absolutely bring some fuel back to the UK, which of course is not a terrible idea, the slightest.
No,
And I'll hear
not at
nothing
all.
different.
No, it's fine. Now, here in Portugal, the thing with diesel and petrol prices is that there was always a very noticeable difference between diesel and petrol. Like, up until now, and right now, I think diesel is, like, on average, 20 cents more expensive than petrol. But before things happened, petrol was always like on that 9 to 10 cent more expensive than diesel range. But once things happened, the price of both fuels steadily increased, but diesel always got the bigger increases. And now that the prices are starting to go back down, petrol is having the biggest decreases, while diesel, there was a week, like I think it was 2 weeks ago, where petrol went down 8 cents and diesel went up 10 cents. Which was very bizarre to me, because even after I started driving, I was always used to, petrol getting more expensive and diesel getting also more expensive, but not as much as petrol.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It is very weird because
Money is a bizarre concept.
Let's not get started on the whole money being bizarre thing, because we don't have that much time left. Actually, we do.
We'll save that rant for another day.
Yes. The thing with fuel is that I personally think it makes sense for diesel to be more expensive than petrol, because it is the more polluting fuel.
Well,
So
I mean, all those years ago, they told us diesel was better.
They did.
True, they
And
did.
then they took it back.
And then they took it
that's
back.
Why. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that people always told me to try and explain why diesel was cheaper than petrol was because it didn't take as much effort, so to speak, to get diesel from crude oil as it is to get petrol. Petrol is more refined, and it takes more work to get to petrol, which is why petrol is more expensive. Never really made sense, but it is what it is. I do think that fuel prices are obscene still.
I mean,
Nah, I think they're okay.
Well, Sid.
Pretty sensible.
Well, Sid.
it's got like a fucking a fourth of the price that it is here. But it was like the panic buying of petrol because one station ran out of petrol.
Just the one.
Everyone in the UK panicked. Oh, there's a petrol shortage. The amount of queues there were in petrol stations everywhere was ridiculous.
And then they actually caused a shortage.
Exactly.
And then it actually caused a shortage, and also because the demand all of a sudden shot up, so did the prices.
Yeah.
Funny that
Yeah.
when it happened.
Funny how that happens.
And it's also amazing how during the lockdowns during COVID, the demand dropped.
And
so did the prices.
So did the prices. Funny that, isn't it? I remember. I think it was in September 2020.
Isn't it great how the world works?
Yeah. I think it was in September 2020, I got to get petrol for €1.30, and it was glorious times.
Like, when I had my car, petrol here was one. I used to get mine for about, it was about 123 to
Oh,
129
do not make me jizz.
when I had my car, which
Yeah.
was
2019?
2019.
Now here's the thing.
I prefer not to speak.
I was able to get petrol for €1.30, and at the time, €1.30 was already an outrageous price for petrol.
Yeah.
It was already considered high for petrol. Oh.
And then you hit €2.
And then there were a few weeks where I had to get petrol for over €2 a liter.
Cries and money.
Cries
Or
in,
lack of.
cries
Lack
in,
of, lack of money.
cries in. My wage doesn't match inflation.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Since we're approaching the end of this episode of the podcast, Cesar,
Hello.
rumor has it we're visiting.
Ah, yes. As of this podcast's upload, Shane, Lee, Matt, and Brandon will already have stepped foot on Portuguese soil. They will be staying here for 2 weeks, and we do plan on taking pictures. We do plan on recording at least 2 episodes of this very podcast that you're watching right now in person.
Or listening.
Or listening, yeah. We do intend on posting at least a few pictures on social media, so do make sure to keep your peepers open for that. And with that said, gentlemen, do you have any stories to tell? Any more shit you want to say?
No, I was just gonna say. So yeah, like Cesar said, we're gonna aim for 2 podcasts to get recorded. You might see some other stuff, depending on whether or not we decide to film it.
Yeah.
So, because we've got activities in mind, such as go-karting and stuff. So you might just see, like some vlog style videos, I guess. From us.
Possibly.
Which will be a change.
Oh,
So,
definitely.
by the time this comes out, you'll see videos over the coming weeks, basically.
Pretty much.
We're excited for it. Sid would try to come over, but it would take him a while on his camel.
Yeah.
Too long.
Sid would take a hot minute coming by camel. You're not noticing because we're using the magic of green screen, but Sid is already on his camel on his way to Portugal. You just can't see it because of the magic of green screen. Exactly.
I'll just be there in 2025, but I'll be there.
Exactly. Now, with all that said, we do hope that you've enjoyed this episode of your favorite podcast, the PlebPod. I'm Cesar, and I was joined by Sid and Shane, who's dancing around for some reason. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check out our gaming content and any possible vlogs that go onto the channel from the Portugal trip. If you're listening on any of the audio platforms that this podcast is on, do make sure to go onto our YouTube channel to check out our other content, which mostly consists of gaming. That's all from me. That's probably all from Sid also, and Shane is just Shane. We'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.
Bye!
I made it through the podcast.
Oh, my head.
I can't believe it.